Very close, Waters shoulder to shoulder, head to head, nose to nose. Treehouse over Charles Captain Budget. Oh, it's close.
And hello, welcome to another edition of Laurel Park Weekly. It's Thursday, October 5th. We're live here by the historic Laurel Park paddock. I'm Stan Salter, Dave Rodman, Ty Ellis here to recap a huge weekend of racing last weekend here at Laurel Park. We'll tell you what's coming up in the racing world, but we have to start with the local recap. This past Saturday, Commonwealth Day, it lived up to its billing. We had 8 turf stakes, 3 of them graded. The comeback of the Grade 2 Baltimore-Washington International Turf Cup. What a race that was. What a day it was last Saturday. Another super Saturday at Laurel Park.
Whenever you put that many stakes races, quality horses on the card, the fans will respond, and they did indeed. So we had a bit of a change in the weather here at Laurel Park with the temperature in the 60s, and I guess it kind of coincides with our change in the racing schedule. Ty, we're going to race Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday this fall, so a big fall ahead of us at Laurel Park.
Absolutely. The 4-day race meet that you mentioned kicks off this week, and it was a great celebration of Mid-Atlantic horses really this past weekend, and we had some invaders come down and take some of the graded stakes, but it was still well received all around by the fans and the bettors alike.
Yeah, we had a big crowd. Handle was up, way up over last year, and yeah, fall is here. I'm trying a little fall look here.
That's good.
With the little fall shadow. We'll see how it goes for the weekly show. I don't know if it's going to make the 4-day race week. Might have to. Well, we'll see. We'll have to modify it. But let's get right to the race action from last weekend here at Laurel Park. Chad Brown had a monster day. He was 1-2 in the Grade 2 Baltimore-Washington International Turf Cup. Here he is with the winner, the Great Britain bred projected 5-year-old for Chad Brown. Nick Juarez in town. He won the Black-Eyed Susan, and he wins the Grade 2 BWI Turf Cup.
And that's a horse we did show in the preview last week, Ty. A projected first graded stakes win for projected Nick Juarez on the favorite, bounding home in solid fashion and driving under that line over Catapult. Chad Brown 1-2 in that race.
You got the jump on the pacer on Catapult, his barn mate, and then you had a big pace setter, Xmas Sky, who kind of was a runaway leader on the backstretch and then came back and projected just got the first jump, turned a 97 buyer in the win. Chad Brown came and take the exacta in both, 2 of our 3 graded stakes on Saturday.
Good effort, too, from Ring Weekend, and finishing third and picking up another check there. Kind of loomed at the 8th pole, but just outkicked by the Brown runners, Projected and Catapult in the Baltimore-Washington International Turf Cup. And good to see that race back.
My top pick, Tower of Texas, just had too much to do. Was just too far back. Came running down the lane, but couldn't catch Projected. Nice ride there by Nick Juarez to win the Grade 2 Baltimore-Washington International Turf Cup. Will we see a change to a Grade 1 next year or the year after that? What do you think in the next 3 to 5 years? You think this race gets to a Grade 1?
I think, given the distance, the time of the year, maybe the positioning of the race, it certainly has a chance to attract a larger field next year as trainers become more aware that it's on the schedule, big purse and a graded stake, and good preps too for the Breeders' Cup and for the Keeneland Turf Stakes as well.
Ty, you put Projected on your Breeders' Cup Mile ticket as one of the horses to beat?
Absolutely. I don't know about a horse to beat, but I think a horse at a price, because for the mile and especially the turf, you always get those invaders coming in from Europe. They're always really tough to beat Breeders' Cup weekend, but a horse that you're going to get a fair price Breeders' Cup weekend.
All right, so the BWI Turf Cup, that was the Grade 2. We had 2 Grade 3s as well. Let's take a look at the Grade 3 Commonwealth Oaks. Rimska, Chad Brown once again. Rimska was the favorite coming off a long layoff. I respected the barn. I didn't use her on top or even in my top 2. I thought maybe she needed to race off the layoff, but Rimska ready to fire a big effort. Here she comes with a late rally on the outside.
Kind of appropriate time as the Laurel 12 noon train rolls behind us. You may hear the sound effects. That looks like sound effects for Rimska as she gets a good clear trip rolling like a freight train down the center of the track. Very solid turn of foot there. Nice comeback race for the French-bred filly. And again, Chad Brown 1-2 in that race with Tapperger running a big one, having to wait a little bit at the top of the stretch, finally getting daylight, but then out kicked by her barn mate there. Rimska and Tapperger, Brown 1-2.
Yeah, it was a good patient ride by Fergal Lynch. I know afterwards he said the only instructions he's had was get out in the clear. Don't let this horse get stopped, because the turn of foot this horse has in the final couple furlongs is pretty powerful. Just don't get this horse stopped, and she'll make you probably look good. And that's what Fergal, was a ride for the board, a good going away victory, earned an 88 buyer. Wasn't the strongest figure that we had on the day, but an 88 will do for an improving and a projecting up filly.
Yeah, nice win there. Fergal Lynch, nice ride. That was his second winner of the day. He had a big day. Fergal Lynch had 4 wins, including 3 stake wins. Let's show you another stakes win he had in the Grade 3 Commonwealth Derby. The Maryland-bred Just Howard upset Voodoo Song. Here's Voodoo Song in front, turner for home. Just Howard tips out off the rail. Fergal Lynch, beautiful ride on the Maryland-bred by English Channel. Graham Motion, the trainer. Now 4 wins in a row for Just Howard, including the last 3 against Stakes Company right here at Laurel Park.
Maryland-bred steps up into much tougher competition. I mean, they could have waited, run this horse somewhere in a restricted stake and just kept the ball rolling, but taking that shot there, and it paid off. I got to say, Just Howard, remember how a little bit rank he was earlier in his career on the turf? He was just a complete pro this time around. He's an improving runner, and I know you talked to Skedaddle in the winner's circle stand there. They're pretty high on this horse, maybe looking forward to next year with him.
Well, they had a nice turf campaign with Mr. O'Brien, who you remember won the Henry Clark and then won the Grade 2 Dixie at Pimlico at a big price. I think Frank Carulli's favorite horse of all time, Mr. O'Brien, in the Dixie. So yeah, Skedaddle, they've had some nice horses before. They had Dunn Talkin a few years ago, who took them to the Kentucky Derby, of course, and some other champions over the years with a bunch of different trainers here in Maryland. But good to see him with a nice 3-year-old here with Graham Motion. And what do they do with him now? Do they keep running him? Maybe he gets the winner off and comes back fresh in the Henry Clark, which could be a nice prep race to the Dixie.
Yeah, I would think that maybe, given toward the end of the turf season, I may run him one more time at least. But yeah, you've got to get freshened up, and the rate he's improving, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with on the turf anywhere next year.
The connections, they put the blinkers on this horse 4 starts to break the maiden, and never since then the horse has really settled nice. Did that good, set off Voodoo Song, who was the obvious pace setter in there. Now this horse was bought for $37,000 at a consignment sale when Howard Bender passed away, and so that's the horse was named Just Howard after the late Howard Bender, who was a staple here in the Maryland community for a long time.
Yeah, he bred so many good horses who lasted such a long time on the racetrack. A lot of those old Bender breds still running in allowance and claiming ranks still, so the Bender's legacy lives on.
And Howard Bender down as a breeder of Just Howard. So now he's a Maryland bred, but he's by English Channel, so he's not Maryland Million eligible. So I doubt we'll see him in the Maryland Million turf race, unless if it's small enough entries, then they can open it up to Maryland breds. But I'm assuming that race will have big entries. So he'll find another spot. Graham Motion will find a good spot for him. They get a $16 win price still on Just Howard in the Commonwealth Derby. So that was the third graded stake race of the day. It was race 11 on the day. That was Fergal Lynch's 4th winner of the day. Let's show you all the Virginia breds last Saturday here. Here's Special Envoy, a monster against Virginia breds. He's won 3 in a row here at Laurel Park. A $2.20 winner with Daniel Centeno aboard for trainer Arnaud Delacourt.
Well, it was just a dime to a dollar favorite with Special Envoy, but he keeps on rolling against Virginia Bred Company. The check was pretty much signed, the ink dry and the written for him at the quarter pole, it looked like, as he swung out for racing room. Getting the job done, a very stubborn speed gracer, good effort from that runner to the runner-up, and Running in the Veil did all he could on the pace to finish 3rd.
He did really what he was supposed to do. There wasn't a ton of competition, but there's money to be made in this division if you have a good Virginia horse, and that's what Special Envoy's done. Put the winnings over almost $300,000, a little shy of that with the win in there.
Oh yeah, Delacourt's done a nice job managing the Virginia bred by the Firestone family down there. 6-year-old by Stroll. The Flies are happy at Special Envoy. Was a winner last Saturday. Let's take a look at the Brookmead. That was for Philly Mares 3 and up, going long on the turf. And Queen Caroline got revenge on Armour and Sweet Sandy. Nice, gets in front, turning for home. Or takes on the leader, turning for home. Fergal Lynch this was his first stakes winner of the day on Queen Caroline.
Yeah, Stan Ty, we talked about maybe the pace scenario being a little bit different in this race for both Queen Caroline and Armois, and Queen Caroline got the jump. Armois couldn't close the gap. The pace a little more moderate than the last time they met. Queen Caroline, just a solid, consistent turf runner, and when she gets kind of a moderate pace to either settle down in the front or maybe chase, she can get the job done, collect the winner's check.
Yeah, the difference in this race was Fergal Lynch placed Queen Caroline a little bit more forwardly placed than Armois, and just left with that moderate fractions. Armois a little bit too much to do, and it was really a slugfest between the two heavyweights in the division, and Queen Caroline bested Armois this day, but I think if you run this race 10 times, you know, they're going to even out.
Yeah, different pace scenarios, different situation.
And you get a $5 win price there on Queen Caroline in the Brook Meet. Let's take a look at the punchline next. 5.5 on the turf for Virginia Breds 3 and up. And Carla Morgan pulled off the upset with Lawyer Dave. Steve Hamilton gets the winning ride. It's a good ride. Had to break from the one hole and gets to win on Lawyer Dave, going 5.5 on the turf.
Lawyer Dave getting a good clean trip on the outside. In the meantime, Two Notch Road lacked a little bit of room at the 8th pole, but maybe just didn't fire his best shot on this particular day. There you see Two Notch Road down inside there, lacking a little bit of room earlier in upper stretch, but didn't really have the kick once clear. But Lawyer Dave did have enough to withstand a solid bid there from Crypto's Holiday.
Improved again off the turf. I think this horse is probably best on the turf, but has won now over $400,000 in the career. That's not a bad career for a Virginia bred.
And the 10-year-old Two Notch Road was in there. He's kind of in and out form as he's gotten up into his older years. He'll run a good race and then come back and maybe run a couple not so good races. So Glenn Thompson's done a nice job managing him. Probably will freshen him up again. We'll see what happens with Two Notch Road. But Lawyer Dave gets the money in the punchline. Let's take a look at the Oakley Filly Mares 3 and up, going short on the turf, and Arnaud Delacour had a big day. Here's Exaggerated, man. She looked locked and loaded. Look how much horse she had with Daniel Centeno turning for home here to win the Oakley.
Yeah, she's been kind of lightly raced in recent months. Was a beaten favorite a few races back, but with a good clean trip, her class pulls her through and prevails over the former claimer there, Northern Eclipse. Good run for the Toby Roth runner there, finishing second in the Orange Silks. Good clean trip. There would be no excuses if she got that kind of trip on Saturday afternoon, and indeed was out in the clear the whole way, 4 deep, and kicks away by 2.
Yeah, Lael Stables owns the Blame mare, who probably can go on and win open stakes, maybe even compete in a Grade 3, Grade 2 company down the line.
Yeah, good-looking mare and good-looking win there. She's 1 for 2 this year as a 5-year-old. So Daniel Centeno and trainer Arnaud Delacour team up for their second win of this day, second stakes win of the day there in the Oakley. A bunch of nice looking 2-year-olds in the Jamestown Virginia Breds, 5.5 on the turf, and the popular favorite, Yes to the Dress, had a sharp maiden win last out at Delaware and loved the turf in the turf debut for trainer Ron Moquette. Nice ride by jockey Jose Lascano. Yes to the Dress was much the best in the Jamestown.
And the others look like in their own little race back there. In the meantime, Yes to the Dress is just breezing along, a little peak to the right. See, there's not a lot of competition coming, just kind of keeps the mild task with a little couple taps there, there on the withers, and there goes Yes to the Dress. Pulling away in solid fashion. The time not super sharp, but that last 16th of a mile was really sharp, less than 6 seconds.
I was actually, I thought this horse was going to be vulnerable. I knew the horse was going to be a big favorite. She went off 4-5, but she doesn't have a ton of turf breeding underneath, but she certainly took to it. There wasn't a lot behind her. Good win and paid decent at 4-5, I guess, but moving forward, I don't know. You mentioned about the time being a little slow. I don't know what they do, if they keep her on the turf or if they try her on the dirt going forward.
Well, you'd have to think, you know, with nobody running alongside of her and going, you know, on the turf like that. I mean, she's got some options right now, at least to the fall. And then, you know, I guess they can run her back on the dirt. A lot of options for her. But we know she likes both surfaces.
And the runner-up in the Jamestown, Wicked Sister for trainer Carla Morgan and owner, breeder lady Olivia Northcliffe. They had a big day, second in the Jamestown. Of course, they had Lawyer Dave, a winner earlier on the day. So some nice-looking 2-year-olds there in the Jamestown. That's it. That's 8 stakes races we had last Saturday. It was a class on the grass for Commonwealth Day. Let's get a quick commercial break. We'll show you some big national races from around the country last weekend right after this. Welcome back, Laurel Park Weekly. Let's show you some big national races from around the country. Last weekend, I was so wrapped up in the big 8 stake race day we had here at Laurel. I missed these races, but some nice races up there at Belmont. Let's show you Beach Patrol, Chad Brown, no surprise. No surprise. It's tough to beat Chad Brown. He's 1-2 in a couple graded stakes here at Laurel, and he gets the money in the Joe Hirsch with Beach Patrol.
Grade 1 race, 1.5 winning. You're in for the Breeders' Cup Turf. Beach Patrol really pouring it on there in the stretch, and a good final quarter from him in 22.85. Oscar Performance took back a little bit off the lead. Rosario goes toward that pace early on. 13.81 for 6 furlongs, half in 48.23. Kept him up close, and wow, Beach Patrol in a powerhouse performance in the Turf Classic at Belmont.
Beach Patrol might be the only Chad Brown horse that doesn't get a ton of respect. This horse is multiple Grade 1 placed, has won a Grade 1 before, and then just blew the field away at 5-1, which is a good price. Got a 109 buyer. That is a career best. I think topped out at 102 before that. But the horse had never been really, from Chad Brown's stable, the horse had never been strongly backed. You had Arlington Million, and the horse just blew the competition away in that race.
Yeah, well, you get your chance to play him again with no respect. Probably.
Well, he gets my respect now. He's my Lemon Drop kid. That's one of my favorite sires. And wow, well, you said it. Wow, what a powerhouse win there against Grade 1 company in a turf race. Normally you see a 3-4 horse blanket finish, and he won by, 4 or 5 going away there as a 4-year-old. He's probably going to get better as a 5-year-old. So Beach Patrol, he's my favorite for the Breeders' Cup Turf 1.5 race.
He's going to be tough in there. Like I said, the European shippers, but he's probably one of the best North American horses here that we have to throw against them.
All right, Santa Anita had some big races last weekend out there at the Great Race Place. Let's show you the Grade 1 Awesome Again, Bob Baffert with a nice 5-year-old. Dave, you can say his name better than I. Here's him winning the Grade 1 Awesome Again.
Well, we talked about him a little bit last week. Mubtahij is his name, and he was 4th in the Dubai World Cup, and classing up here against this group with a good pace ahead of him, set by Midnight Storm, 23:20, 47 and change, and 111, and he rolled on the outside in the clear, lost a lot of ground the whole way. So Bob Baffert loaded for the Breeders' Cup Classic. This horse, Arrogate, Collected, West Coast, Cupid, the list goes on and on.
Who's the best? This horse better than Arrogate?
No. Arrogate. Well, old Arrogate is probably him and Gun Runner, but current Arrogate probably.
Yeah,
I mean,
current Arrogate's been fluky.
Yeah, but that was a good win by Mubtahij. Bob Baffert, he's got to be probably a little disappointed in Cupid, who went off as a favorite in there. Tired at the top of the stretch. Midnight Storm stayed on, but Mubtahij, who finished second to California Chrome in the Dubai World Cup a couple years back, it really has grown and improved and is a kind of a grinding type of colt, but he could be a challenge in the Classic.
All right,
like they say in the White House press briefings about your question, I'll get back to you on that one. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna commit to him yet.
All right, well, Santa Anita had a Grade 1 for the 2-year-olds last Saturday, going a mile and a 16th on the main track. It was a Grade 1. That was the purse, right? $300,000 for 2-year-olds. Let's show you Bolt de Oro, 2-year-old by Medalla de Oro. It's $150,000 sire. Here's one of the early favorites for the Kentucky Derby, right, guys?
A 100 by your speed figure for Bolt de Oro in the 4-runner. 7 3/4, the final margin there, and John White did a little column on expressbet.com, saying that he was more impressive pulling up. He looked like a horse who had just broken off out of the post parade. Looked like he hadn't really turned a hair after that win. Bolt de Oro will certainly get a lot of buzz now, but a lot of 2-year-old races coming up more at Keeneland, and a lot can happen. But that was another win for Bolt de Oro, who was trained by Mick Ruiz, having a solid opening weekend, right? You pointed at that Santa Anita.
Yeah, he had a couple wins on opening day, but you see a 100 buyer figure by a 2-year-old. You just don't see that very often. So
101, I think, American Pharaoh ran in the same race a few years back, just by comparison.
He went on to do pretty well.
Yeah, he did all right.
All right, so great to see the great race place having some big races out there last Saturday. Let's get another quick commercial break. We'll tell you what's coming up this weekend around the racing world right after this.
In the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. Either way, you win. Have a stake in the race with ExpressBet.
Okay, welcome back, Laurel Park Weekly. Let's show you what's going on around the racing world this weekend. We'll have live racing here at Laurel Park. Remember, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, 4 days a week now here at Laurel Park, Friday through Monday. Hope you can join us. No stake races this weekend. We had 8 last weekend. Our next big Super Saturday coming up for you Saturday, October 21st for the Maryland Million. But let's show you some big graded stakes races around the country this weekend. Keeneland opens up. You're going to see some of the best horses in the country down there. Here's American Patriot's going to be running in the Shadwell Turf Mile down there at Keeneland.
This is the Maker's Mile at Keeneland stand earlier in the spring, and you're going to see Heart to Heart, who's the pace setter in here on the lead. Big Heart Blaze on the front, getting run down deep stretch by American Patriot at Keeneland over this course, same mile distance. This race, they're both in it. American Patriot drew the outside, which is good. You're going to have Heart to Heart, who's going to go to the face. You have a couple decent, you have a French horse in here. I'm not sure how to say the name, Dave. Maybe you could say it better. Drew the 3-hole, and then Mona Liste, but Miss Temple City coming up against the boys again in here.
Yeah, she's won this the last 2 years in a row, correct?
Absolutely, yep.
American Patriot 2 for 2 at Keeneland. Good reason to show that horse. A horse for the Keeneland course for sure, but obviously his form's been a little bit dark in his last couple of races, so you're going to get a price against the likes of Miss Temple City, Flatline, who I guess was supposed to run the Baltimore-Washington Turf Cup, is going in this race. Mondelez, the 2016 Arlington Million winner. This is a knockout race top to bottom. Divisadero, a lot of folks like to play him with that stretch kick that he's got, though he's been beaten by Heart to Heart and Flatline before.
Yeah, Miss Temple City got a little, hopefully a little confidence boost in that Grade 3 win at Kentucky Downs in the ladies' turf, the ladies' turf there. Won by a neck. Really should have won by more, but it was a good confidence booster. Taking the males on now in a Grade 1. You said it. Won the last 2 years. No reason this horse isn't going to be there at come the last 16th or so.
And Ignacio Correas with a kind of an intriguing horse, I think. Liked him a little bit last time. His second time in the country for Argentinian-bred Lecan, who kind of finished an okay 5th, a sneaky 5th at Del Mar, first time in the U.S. and first time on the turf. He's had a little bit more time to acclimate and a good work at Keeneland for Lecan.
Yeah, with a cleaner break, you can see broke a little bit slow in that last time. Drayden Van Dyke rode cleaner break. This horse could definitely have a good late kick with the pace setup.
What kind of price do you think we get on Miss Temple City?
I think you're going to get decent, probably 4-1.
4-1,
yeah.
Okay. All right, so a bunch of monsters in the Grade 1 Shadwell Turf Mile down there at Keeneland. Belmont has the historic Grade 1 Jockey Club Gold Cup. Kane Ice is going to be running up there. What a historic Grade 1 race this is on the calendar. A major prep for the Breeders' Cup Classic.
This, we're seeing the Suburban right here, where Keen Ice just blew the field away by 3 lengths. Yes, the Suburban, I'm sorry. Second in the Whitney last time behind Gun Runner, who's going to probably go off as a favorite in the Breeders' Cup Classic here in a month or so. This is probably going to be a jumping off point for Keen Ice. You got Good Samaritan in here, who you were all over a couple races back in the Jim Dandy. I think they're going to see if Good Samaritan runs well in this race, probably going to go up to the Classic.
A Good Samaritan taking on the older, but adding the blinkers this time around. Interesting move there from Belmont. It's only his second start on the dirt. His first win on the dirt was the Jim Dandy at Saratoga, looping the field on what was supposed to be a good inside day there. He came wide to win, and a pretty good, sneaky good race. He was a slight favorite, actually, in the Travers against West Coast and Gunnevera and IRAP and that crew, adding the blinkers on. I'm going to use them in the exacta this time. Good Samaritan against Older.
And you're going to get a good price because of the clunker he threw up at Saratoga and the Travers. Destin's going to be running in here, second in the Belmont last year. Todd Pletcher trains the horse. Has been running Allowance Company the last couple times. Like I said, that could be a confidence boost in here. See if this horse can run and can get back to that 3-year-old form and maybe go on to the Classic and bigger things down the line.
The pace shouldn't be cooking, but it's going to be honest enough, I think, with Diversify in there and Rally Cry and looking for Keen Eyes to do his usual thing coming from off the pace, and Good Samaritan off the pace as well, though perhaps not as far back as Keen Eyes.
Yeah, Diversify is going to be your the pace setter and really kind of the wild card in this race. 1 by 12 lengths. That was a state bred race up at Saratoga last time, going a mile and an eighth. So drew the 1 holes. Probably going to try to go to the front, see how far the speed is going to last, and see if anybody can run him down. Keen Ice has that kind of grinding style that will be coming late.
No Shaman Ghost in the Jockey Club. Interesting. Shaman Ghost was second behind Keen Ice in the race when they showed their Suburban, so that was a tough race and a strong race. I think won by Keen Ice. He'll be the favorite likely in the Jockey Club.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right, so that'll be one of the features of the weekend. You can watch all the simulcast action right here at Laurel Park on one of our many flat screen TVs all over the renovated racetrack. Get a nice table in the garden, terrace tips, tycoons up there at the sports bar on the second floor of the clubhouse. We had a Super Saturday this past Saturday. Everybody ready for the next Super Saturday? Maryland Million is right around the corner, Saturday, October 21st.
Good seating options, too, for Maryland Million. I know you were talking about this to me last week, Ty. I mean, there's a lot of different things that are happening seating-wise here at Laurel Park if you want to come out. First of all, it's free admission just to walk through the door.
I was looking at the menu for the buffet that they're going to have,
All right.
and my stomach's rumbling now just thinking about it. $75 for the buffet on the day. It should be a fantastic day of racing to celebrate Maryland sired horses.
That's in the terrace dining room, right?
Yes,
right.
and tips.
Jailbreak Beer Garden as well. There's tickets for that. What are they, $20, something like that?
$20.
Yeah.
Yep, you get 3 beers with it, so it's
Okay.
not a bad deal.
Okay.
And fun for the whole family. The kids' corral is always a popular thing on Maryland Million Day, and this will be popular. Free Maryland Million cap to the first 4,000 program buyers. So make sure you get out here, buy a program. It'll be a nice, pretty, glossy program with all the Maryland Million races, and you'll get a free hat. You can't beat that. Free admission. You buy a program, you get a free hat. I think the joint's gonna be jumping here on Maryland Million. That's what Scott Garceau used to say when he called the Ravens games.
All right, yeah. A lot of pumpkins and mums in cool weather.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And winners.
So interesting. Hugh McMahon had an interesting win last weekend on the undercard. Well, no, it was on Sunday. That 2-year-old allowance race that he won with the Terry Shane homebred. I can't think. Margie's Money. Margie's Money, an impressive winner.
Scheduled to go.
Had to battle in that race. Won the battle, and won. And so now that horse is setting up to be a duel in the Maryland Million Lassie for 2-year-old fillies between Margie's Money, who we saw win last Sunday, and the John Salzman Jr. filly Limited View.
She's going. Okay, that's we'll see the races come together in the next week or two. Have a better idea who's going to run on Maryland Million Day at Laurel Park. Excuse me, Jim McKay Maryland Million Day, the man who started it all.
All right, that's it. We're out of time. Remember, Monday racing now at Laurel Park. We go Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. 4 days a weekend. Hope you can join us here. We'll have some big fields on the world-class turf course. For Ty Ellis, Dave Rodman, best of luck.